Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Pixelz podcast. It's been a while since we've done a podcast like this. And in this one, we're going to talk about Dead by Daylight mainly. I know a lot of people are probably, maybe he's even sick of me covering Dead by Daylight already. And just me transitioning back over to the ASIM space and, what experience I went through and, how I found the game going back to it. And we've got a bunch of questions from you guys that we want to talk about as well and, break down in this podcast. Weirdly, I've done so many podcasts and still to this day I still get a little bit nervous doing them. I don't know why. I do miss doing podcasts though, so we'll try and keep this a regular thing, every 2 weeks or whatever we get a podcast out if there is stuff worthy to talk about, really. So we have had a weird year for this game. You all see my previous video probably, why I decided to move back to ASIM games. It was just basically a lot of shit going down, a lot of bad shit, really, with my channel and everything else going on in real life. I was like, I need some consistency, I need some standards, I need something that's just gonna, give me kind of a foundation of where I can just settle and be like, okay, let me just chill, I can just play this game, and I know people want to watch it. And that's what Dead by Daylight is, honestly. And I will admit to it, years ago, and when I was playing Evil Dead, Texas, and Killer Clowns and stuff, I said I wouldn't go back to Dead by Daylight, but I couldn't resist the Walking Dead stuff, honestly. So a little bit of history about me. I'm not a big horror fan, funny enough, even though I've got Ashy Slashy and Michael Myers behind me and Ash and all that stuff. I've never really been a huge horror fan. Even growing up, I was not really around people that were into horror that much. I had some people in my school and things that were into Hellraiser and things like that, but I was, growing up, I was always into superhero stuff, Marvel, DC. I was really into my sports as well, like football, soccer, not American football, just football, okay? So I was never really in the horror scene of things until really The Walking Dead. Like, I played a little bit of Resident Evil here and there, not massive amounts at all. Like, my cousin had it on his GameCube, Resident Evil 4. I used to sit and like watch him play it, or I played a little bit myself, and that was it. That was my literal exposure to horror growing up until I watched The Walking Dead and like the Resident Evil movies. Those were the things that kind of pushed me into that category a little bit more, mainly The Walking Dead. So it kind of pulled me to go back to Dead by Daylight, just because then I can play as Rick Grimes and Michonne. Now, we'll get into the recent chapters and the bullshit that's gone on with Dead by Daylight, but just continuing on the topic of me going back to the ASIM games. And it's just, like I said, it's just been a big relief for me mentally, because I know it's what people want to watch. I've built this channel up being a horror channel at this point. We started off with fucking Overwatch and stuff like that, and then we went on to Dead by Daylight, and Dead by Daylight was the game that kind of started it all out for me, where it gave me a solid foundation to branch into the other horror games like Evil Dead, TCM, Killer Clowns. So I've gained most of my loyal followers and subscribers, and I appreciate all you guys' support from those games. And even some of you did move across when I did decide to cover games like Suicide Squad and Marvel Rivals. And in hindsight, I don't regret covering Marvel Rivals on this channel, because it was still a really fun game to cover. I'm still trying to work out what to do with that game, because I am still a partner with that game, and I still get the early access stuff. I can still, do the early access videos and streams and everything. And it'll get to the point where, I need to find the time to do that. And if I'm covering Dead by Daylight all the time, I'm going to have to try and find time to obviously do on rival stuff, because I think Dead by Daylight's got so much stuff involved with it. It's such a highly competitive game as well in terms of the content creator space, where how am I going to stand out? And a couple of my videos have done pretty well so far with Dead by Daylight. I've done a few build videos, I've done I've done some reviews, I've done the developer update stuff. So there's a few things I have done, and my streams lately have been climbing back up in their numbers as well, which is really good to see, because streaming's like my main thing. And I just want to quickly tell you guys something about the Marvel Rivals partnership is like I'm a long form video partner, which means they don't count my streams. So it was a bit weird. Like I don't know, with Rivals it was very weird for me to stream the game all the time and then have to make these long form videos because they didn't class my streams as being long form videos. The only thing they count as a stream is on Twitch, and you know, that's a really big, like, it's a big headache for me because I'm not a Twitch content creator. I would like, the only reason I'd go onto Twitch is with this new age verification system going on to YouTube, where a lot of people might stop using YouTube and then they will be going on to Twitch, but some people just don't have that option. Like I mentioned in one of my previous live streams, like the reason I'm on YouTube is because people at work who want to watch streams and stuff are blocked from going on to Twitch, and you know, YouTube's only their real outlet for entertainment of live streams. So that's why I'm mainly on this platform. And you know, another reason I'm on here is because I can stream in 1440p as well. So you know, Twitch would be an option potentially in the future, but you know, it's not going to be anything anytime soon, just because right now I'm in the mindset of let me build my channel back up, because it just straight up tanked trying to do Marvel Rivals stuff, and then I started mixing horror stuff with Marvel Rivals, and that just went. Now it's kind of building back up. I might slowly introduce some more Rival stuff again, whether it be a live stream here or there, or a couple of videos as well, just so I can, you know, do my partnership stuff with them as well. Then, you know, by all means, I'm probably going to try and do that. But right now, I just want to, you know, try and build a little solid foundation back up with the horror stuff again and Dead by Daylight, and you know, getting some people in, some new people into the channel from Dead by Daylight as well. But like I said, it's a highly competitive game. It's really hard to stand out, and you know, that's one of the drawbacks of Dead by Daylight and covering it right now. But you know, we've had a lot of controversy with that game lately with the 2 chapters releasing, but you know, just coming back to these ASIM games, mainly Dead by Daylight, because I haven't really played any of the other ones because they're all dead. Okay. You know, coming back to that, it's been an interesting time because I hadn't played the game properly in over 4 years. You know, the last time I played Dead by Daylight properly was when the Ring chapter come out. Okay, that's how long ago it was. So a lot happened in the game, a lot of perks that came into the game, and you know, I'm just learning again as I'm playing. I feel like a new player, sort of, again. You know, I'm like trying to learn the new map tiles, and you know, all the new killers that have been in the game as well. I'm like, how the hell do I play against this character? And you know, it's been fun, you know, having this learning curve to the game again, going back to it, as to where I probably don't experience the fatigue that a lot of people are experiencing again. And it just goes to show that you should really take breaks from, you know, playing the same game again. I'm just emptying stuff on my pockets because it's doing my head in. So yeah, it's a weird space to be in sometimes when you're doing games like Dead by Daylight daily. Because like I said, you get the burnout, you'll get the fatigue because you're sick of the shit, basically. So it's been really fun going back to Dead by Daylight, and I'm being honest with that. Like I said, I admit I said I wouldn't go back to this game, but Walking Dead really pulled me back to it. I couldn't resist it. And the funny thing is, I came back during the FNAF chapter, and I fucking hate FNAF and Springtrap and all that nonsense that goes along with it. To be fair though, in Dead by Daylight, it's probably watered down quite enough to me to tolerate it. So as much as I hate Springtrap, and to be honest, the way he plays in Dead by Daylight, I fucking hate as well. But, and you know, the reason behind that is him being just a low skill ceiling character. Sure, you've got to figure out the axe aim, but you know, even if you miss, you're actually getting that 115 speed. So no, like, there's no risk playing that character really, and you can just fucking teleport across the maps and everything. Like, it's just, he's a bit ridiculous, but you know, he's not particularly, he's not too hard to win against. You know, I wouldn't say he's too far away from being balanced. I just think some of the stuff that he has in his kit is a bit ridiculous. So yeah, last month was a really rough month. We had, you know, obviously my granddad passed away, and and then I had his funeral, and then the next day was my birthday, and then yeah, it was just a weird month. We had a lot of family drama going on as well. I'm just kind of glad that that month is over with. Like July was easily one of the the worst months I've experienced in my life. And I know people are going through worse times. Obviously, you know, it happens, but for me personally, from what I've experienced, that was literally one of the worst months I've ever been through in my life. And yeah, I'm glad it's over with, because now I feel like I can push on further with the channel, talk to you guys, get some more guys back. And you know, sorry, I'm gonna sneeze. No, I'm not. What's been really weird is, since I've been back on Dead by Daylight, I've been seeing some really like old faces from the channel. You know, people back from four plus years ago coming back to the channel and like, hey, I used to play Dead by Daylight with you. I was like, what? You still around after all this time? Like, that stuff just kind of blows my brains out completely, because I'm just like, how are you still here? How are you even getting a notification or seeing my channel after this amount of time? And it's honestly, transitioning back to these ASIM games, it's been such a like big fucking headache. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just been like the things I've had to do on my channel behind the scenes. Like, you guys obviously don't know, but there's things like old private videos from like 8 or 9 years ago that will affect your YouTube algorithm. Just imagine that. You know, you've got an old Payday 2 video, an old Killing Floor video. Things like that are just sitting on your channel from 8 years ago that are privated are still sending data to the algorithm, and the algorithm's going, what the fuck is this channel? Who are you? So I had to go back and delete a lot of irrelevant stuff, because and the funny thing is, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work, but you know, at a last resort here, my streams weren't doing well, despite me going back to Dead by Daylight in the early, like, you know, the first few days at the start of July, really. My streams weren't doing well, my videos weren't reaching the same amount of numbers as they usually reaching, and there was just a bunch of other weird stuff going on there. And you know, I contacted YouTube about it. They said, you know, it's nothing on their end, there's nothing bugged about my channel or anything. So I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. How can one Dead by Daylight video or one video of Marvel Rivals all of a sudden, like, that one's getting 100,000 impressions? That is the thumbnail appearing on somebody's screen before they click the video, basically. How is that video getting 100k and then one video is only getting 2,000? Like, the one thing I really want in life is consistency in my job. Like, I want something to be consistent. I want something to make fucking sense. When I see stuff like that, it doesn't make sense, and then it just starts stressing me out like really fucking bad. Because I want to succeed. Obviously, I'm playing games to get views on people to make money. You know, that's it. But I'm sitting here, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with my channel. And that's apparently, you know, once I did that, once I went back and deleted a lot of irrelevant shit that was pinging stuff to the algorithm, people still watching my Suicide Squad videos, affecting my Dead by Daylight videos. Like, I still have my Suicide Squad videos on the channel, but like, I look at like what's my most performing videos in the last 48 hours, and like 10 of them will be Suicide Squad videos. I'm like, why why are people still watching Suicide Squad videos? Why are people still playing that game? I don't know. I just find that very bizarre. But even people watching those videos is then affecting my algorithm, because it's establishing me as a fucking Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League content creator. It's a big web of mess, and it's a lot of stress. And it's one of those things about YouTube that, you know, really fucks me up mentally, because I know it just feels like it's something out of my control. Like, I could do the best video ever and end up with 200 views just because YouTube deems it so. That's it. Even though I've got 18,000 plus subscribers, like, that's not gonna make a difference, really. But like I said, it's been a good time, and even though it's been a headache sorting all that kind of algorithm stuff out behind the scenes, I think I've sort of fixed it. Like I said, deleted a lot of stuff, and then my video where I did like my 3 favorite survivor builds to use on Dead by Daylight right now. Once I deleted all that old stuff, that video just went, it just, like, you can look at the graph, and it'll literally just, it's like that. It's like almost just a slightly above horizontal line going up, and then it just literally takes off. Like, once, that time was literally when I deleted those videos. So yeah, There's a lot of weird shit that I've got to deal with YouTube. In an ideal world, I'd be a relatively successful Twitch streamer, and I wouldn't have to give a shit about algorithms. But you know, I'm here. I'm still dedicated to making this work, despite the lows I've had this year, going from so much popularity with Marvel Rivals to tanking to feeling like I'm somebody with 1,000 subscribers sometimes, because of like that's how bad some of the videos were doing. Like I'd put a Marvel Rivals video out, and you know, it's a guide video. My guide videos always did well. In the old, like back in when Rivals first come out, my guide videos skyrocketed up to like fucking 200,000 views on a Loki guide or something. And then, you know, I'm doing one for a new character, Blade, Jean Grey, whatever. And then in the first like 48 hours, I can't even get more than like 150 views. So I feel like it's a whole supply and demand thing, and YouTube's full of trends as well. So if, you know, you're doing some trendy stuff like, oh, Marvel Rivals is trending, it's going to have a lot more eyes on it. YouTube's going to push out a lot more Marvel Rivals content. Once Rivals isn't trending anymore, then things are just going to stagnate like really bad, like what happened to me. And then, you know, I'm kind of left with just my subscribers to kind of buff up the algorithm there. But I know a lot of people won't really click on those Rivals content from the notifications sent out, which then has a negative effect. And, you know, I don't blame people for that. You know, I'm not going to tell you guys to watch a fucking guide video all the time. My guide videos were mainly there to pull new people in. And that, you know, it's a thing that I say is, you know, you're not making browsable content, you're making searchable content, and searchable content is a way to get in new subscribers. Browsable content is for your current subscribers that want to just binge watch stuff that you've made, basically. So that's my thought process and what I was doing with Marvel Rivals. And, you know, I tried a few gameplay videos here and there that didn't really work that well, and it was just weird going from one extreme to another, you know. But I found, you know, going back to the ASIM games, particularly mainly Dead by Daylight, I know I've applied to be a partner for that game. I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. I hope I do. Despite me shitting on the game for as long as I have, it's been nice to be away from the game for like 4 years, and like just coming back, I'm so refreshed playing the game. Yeah, it's just the same thing of repairing generators. It's not innovative gameplay by any means, but you know, it's something I can sit and stream for 4 or 5 hours a day and not really get bored. I can hang out with everybody in the chat. Everybody's enjoying watching me play a horror game. And, you know, it's out of my comfort zone, really, still, because, like I said, I'm not a horror fan, but I'm playing a horror game. And, you know, Dead by Daylight really introduced me into all those types of characters, like Michael Myers, Freddy, you know, Leatherface. And, you know, I did go and watch the movies because of Dead by Daylight, and mainly Evil Dead. You know, I wouldn't have been covering Evil Dead. A lot of people on this channel right now, even though you subscribe to me from Evil Dead the game, would not be here unless it was for Dead by Daylight. And Sporter, because Sporter always told me to watch Evil Dead. So obviously when Evil Dead the game come out, I fucking hopped on that, and you know, it's all fucking past knowledge at this point. I've repeated myself millions of times of what happened and how I transitioned onto that stuff. But I said, I think I just enjoy playing Dead by Daylight now because I'm so refreshed with it. I don't have the fatigue like a lot of people. Like, so many people were getting pissed off of all the stuff that's been going on lately. Obviously, with the FNAF chapter and mainly the Walking Dead chapter, that brought in a lot of bugs. Which, you know, I understand people getting a lot of really pissed off about it, but me, I'm just sitting here playing the game. Like, I couldn't give a fuck most of the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm just playing the game. I'm still trying to learn everything. So if there is a bug or something going along the lines, I'm just like, why are you surprised by that? Really? Like, I covered this game for such a long time as to where it's just the norm. And I'm seeing people making videos like, this is the worst state of Dead by Daylight. No, it ain't. It's far from the worst state of Dead by Daylight. Trust me. And yeah, people getting on about them with, you know, the whole Art Starver situation with the stream getting DDoSed. I know the stream got DDoSed, and Ots was like, "Oh, we'll fill the spectator spots up with my mods, or we'll get some staff members in here." Like, they didn't want to fucking listen, and that is very arrogant behavior. It really is. Like, they just totally ignoring him. They know what's best. They didn't like. It does piss me off the most when companies don't allow their streamers to do the work for them. It's the biggest fucking outlet that they have. Okay, it's the easiest outlet they have to get eyes on their game, to get things done professionally. I'm not saying we're all professionals, but people like Oddstarver are professional. They've been streaming for fucking years. I've been streaming for years. I'd fuck up somewhere probably, but people like Odds know what they're doing. Just let him control things, and it would have been a more enjoyable stream for anybody who's trying to consume watching Chandler Riggs play the Walking Dead chapter and stuff. So things like that do piss me off, because it's common sense at that point, isn't it? Like, why would you not just use your streamers and stuff to promote the game? It's like, that's pretty much what Rivals does. They do it the right way, I guess. They allow us early access to promote the new stuff. And I know DBD does it with the PTB and things, but they need to really just sit down and be like, okay, even if they want to pay Oddstarver or somebody just a little bit of money, I'm pretty sure even if they approached someone like me who doesn't have a lot of views, and they're not saying that they would, I'm just in theory here, if they approach someone like me who's just like, oh, can you run this stream for me, I'd probably do it for free. Like, I wouldn't sit there and like go, okay, yeah, but you're gonna pay me money because I have to run this live stream for you. It's free publicity for me, and I'd probably put on a good time for everybody. So it's more of a privilege thing, really. It's like an honor to kind of do something like that for a company. Instead of them, like, look, when they did their last dev stream, which was going over the Rift and the Walking Dead chapter, just before the Walking Dead chapter dropped on the same day, it was a fucking disaster. They were talking into the mic, but it was muted for like 15 minutes. I mean, we missed anything that they said. They're a shambles. They really are. And like, whoever's in their fucking streaming department and doing the media side of things, they might need a bit of a smack on the back of the head. Like, what are you doing? Streaming's been around for such a long time, and yeah, I have audio fuck ups now and then, but like, I have it fixed in about 2 seconds. They just don't pay attention to things, and that's always been the problem with Behaviour. They don't pay attention to things. They don't have common sense about things, and like, I'm over it at this point. That's why I find the game fun again, because I just don't give a shit, and that's the mentality you need to get into again, instead of just once you start getting into the politics of video games a lot, that's when you start getting pissed off a lot, and that's when you start getting fatigued so much faster of just not wanting to play the game. So I'm going to do my best to stay in that mindset of, let me just enjoy the game, and that's it. I don't want to be reading into too much stuff of, like, I'll give my opinion on things, definitely, but I don't want to be getting personally pissed off about, spending time playing a video game, and because I'm hearing and seeing things about the politics about it all the time, of like, oh, look, they fucked up here, they fucked up there, they did a racist thing, they did just anything like that. I'm just like, I don't want to care about it, because that will sap all my energy. It'll drain all my energy for actually doing content for Dead by Daylight. But coming back to the game, it's been an interesting experience. Just learning everything again, learning the new maps, learning the new tiles, learning all the new killers to play against, all the perks in the game as well. There's just so many fucking perks. It's overwhelming. So yeah, it's been fun, and it's been nice to see the streams sort of climbing up again, because I'm an honest guy. Okay, when I was streaming Rivals, even when I started coming back to doing horror ASIM stuff, I would get like 20 to 30 viewers average, which it's not great, even to just like have a sort of decent income from streaming. And it got to the point where I was like, I might even have to look for jobs and just leave this behind. And Old Head's just done that. Old Head Gaming, he's had one of the worst years, unfortunately. You know, he was just kind of happened. The same thing happened to him with Rivals, like, because he's a Marvel Rivals partner. He got, you know, a surge in views, and then his channel just plummeted. It's the same thing that happened to me, and I was close to ending it all, like just deleting everything and just walking away from it all, and just keeping in touch with a few people from the Discord and that, and then, you know, that was going to be it for me, because I try not to dwell on the past too much, but when you've had past successes, it can really get in your head of like, okay, so I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now. I mean, I've been streaming for about 7 years, maybe 8 years, I think. And it gets to the point where you're like, is it ever gonna fucking happen? Is it like, I don't want like a ton of success at all. And, you know, a lot of people probably sit there thinking, oh, okay, you just want to be fucking TikTok famous or whatever. I've never been like that. I just want something that's gonna give me a steady income, you know, and doing something that I enjoy. That's always been my mindset trying to do YouTube. And, you know, when I'm doing something that I am enjoying and it's not really working out for me, that's when things get really stressful. And that's when I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to just abandon this. And I'm I'm very fucking like insistent and, well, sorry, persistent is the word there. I'm very persistent and dedicated to making something fucking work. And I will stay dedicated until it works. And that's what's kept me here. Like July, I almost just went, you know what? I'm fucking done. Like I was this close. I was this fucking close until I started doing Dead by Daylight stuff and saw things started picking up again, and I was like, okay, like we're good for now. We're good for now. But you guys just have no idea like how close I was to just going, nah, that's it. I'm just gonna go fucking get a job at a local store somewhere, and that'll be it for me and content creation. And it would be sad because I know like it's not really in my control. It's not in anybody's control here. It's always in a third party control, really. And maybe I could be more entertaining. Definitely, I could try my best to be a bit more entertaining, but you know. When you've been doing it for so long, you kind of have your own rhythm, you have your own voice, you have things that you want to talk about and how you want to present them. You have that way set about you as to where once you start changing things up, like, yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another Dead by Daylight video. Like, I'm just putting on some fake hype. It's not me. It's just, I can't do it, and I won't do it because it's just not genuine content. I try and stay genuine as much as possible. I'll be blatantly fucking honest with so many people as well. And that's just me because I just don't like the sugarcoat bullshit. So yeah, that's how it's been transitioning back to Dead by Daylight, and it's good to see things that are picking back up on the channel. And I just want to give you everybody an update with it all, you know. And you can probably tell when I'm doing this podcast that I'm in just such a better mindset than what I have been recently. Even on the streams, and to be honest, I do put a front on the streams because we're still going through shit right now. And to be honest, today has finally been the day where things have sorted out and things are gonna, you know, be looking to improve a ton. So, we got Gamescom coming up shortly. You know, for potentially we might see a horror game. Let's hope. Let's hope. You know, and just quickly touching on the future of the channel. Like I said, I do want to put some, like, I know I've done another Marvel Rivals channel, but you know, it's with the stuff that I'm going through and, you know, trying to get things sorted out, it's been a bit of a headache trying to like be, okay, I need to try and pick this channel back up, and then I need to build a channel up from scratch. It's a bit asking too much for me to do that. And I'm not saying that I couldn't do it. It's just, I feel like if I did do that, I'd be spending so much time in this fucking office, not going outside and touching grass, and that's not good for your mental health, really. So, you know, you gotta have some time and rest away from doing stuff like this. So I can't like mentally do it. Really, I could physically do it, but I can't mentally do that right now, because my focus right now is to build this channel back up. I want to get it back up to not what it was like with Evil Dead numbers, because that's unrealistic, but you know, just something decent. And so far that's been happening. Like I said, the past week we've been averaging like 40 to 60 viewers on stream, which is great. It's really good that that's happening again, because once I was getting like, I was streaming Rivals one day, I was like 15 viewers, huh? 15. Yeah. And you know, I don't blame you guys at all for that. I really don't. I blame YouTube. I blame the market of video games in general. It's nothing to do with you guys at all, because I'm not gonna force you to watch me. You watch because you either enjoy me or you enjoy the game. And if you, like I said, it just makes more sense to me because we're a horror channel now, and just staying on horror games like DBD, like Outlast Trials. Outlast Trials is going to get some PvP, you know, for the future of the channel. You know, there's things to look forward to like that are in the pipeline, where we're not just going to be stuck on Dead by Daylight, because, you know, we even have a new Resident Evil game coming out. Halloween, ASIM potentially could be happening. Gun and Ilphonic are doing an ASIM game, which, you know, next podcast I do want to dive into that a little bit and talk about that a lot more. But you know, just briefly with that, at least that is looking to be an original IP, which could mean content, which is a really good thing. So even though it's Gun and Ilphonic, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I don't want to really fucking give them my money. At the end of the day, I'm a content creator. I need to play games like that. Despite me telling you guys, don't fucking buy gun stuff because they're frauds. And I feel like a lot of people did understand that once what happened with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But in the next podcast, I will tell everybody why it's going to be a good thing. Okay, so look forward to that and subscribe to me for that. And this is not the end of this podcast, because now we're going to move on to the Q&A section. I think I covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Although we didn't really dive into the controversial stuff about Dead by Daylight. And let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll get into the Q&A section. So, just quickly coming back to Dead by Daylight, we had obviously the FNAF chapter. I don't think it was a bad chapter, to be honest. It was my introduction back into the game, really. I mean, there was the anniversary stuff going on as well, so you know, it was a vibe. I enjoyed that time. I don't think there was really anything bugged. I mean, there was obviously going to be something bugged, but there was nothing stand out in my head of like, oh, this is fucking broken, you know, and things like that. So, you know, I can only say from my experience, I don't have the time to pay attention to a lot of stuff that other content creators are posting about. Oh, look, this, you know, like the King just does a video or something like, this is fucking broken, and Spook and Jukes or Scott Junn does a video like, look at what's going on here, this is fucking busted, and you know, things like that just kind of goes over my head because I just don't pay attention to that. And you know, I don't have the time and energy to sit around and see what's going on with the Dead by Daylight community all the time. So and it was just me coming back to the game. There was a lot of things to learn again. So if there was any bugs with the FNAF chapter, then you know, that was kind of it. There was one thing I did notice though with a new map with that, the pizzeria map. There was one table, but this was during the PTB, where Springtrap couldn't even throw his axe over it. It was just a little picnic table. I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, that was just typical behavior shit with their maps. Now, moving on to the Walking Dead stuff, and this is like, you know, what's very strange is like, you've just had FNAF, and now for your mid-chapter, you've got the Walking Dead. Like, two of probably the biggest licenses they've brought to the game in a long time, like, bigger than probably fucking Resident Evil, and, you know, it's just things like that are in the game already, and then they brought these in, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, now this is fucking insane. You know, it's gonna bring in a lot of people to Walking Dead, despite, you know, let's just break it down real quick and give a quick review of the Walking Dead chapter. So I'm a big Walking Dead fan. I know everything that happens in the TV show. Now we're looking at Mr. Rick Grimes over here. Poor guy has been a victim to lighting in this game. He's probably one of the worst character models I've seen of Andrew Lincoln in video games. Like, and there's some bad ones, but Dead by Daylight does look the worst. But you know, I can look past it. To be honest, I have the I call it the P3 head, but it's Prestige 6 head these days, isn't it? I have that on him. And you know, it just looks cool. You know, you got the bloody Rick then with the jacket and then bloody jeans. You know, it just looks like Rick from the TV show, really. Kind of Timu Rick potentially, but you know, we had Rick and Daryl. What the fuck are these screams? When I'm playing the game and you hear them injured and they're coughing against plague and they're vomiting against plague, and you just, I'm just sitting there just internally laughing constantly because it's just so funny. Like, who the fuck, like, literally approved them sounding like that? It's like, it's like, they don't sound like that at all. Who, like, why does Daryl sound like that? Fucking hell, it's like just not even close to how Norman Reedus sounds. And Andrew Link, like, the voice lines are cool that they did record, but the screams and stuff, like, I think Behaviour are going to do something about that, because I know a lot of people did complain about them, so hopefully they fix their audio, because it's fucking atrocious. And just quickly about Rick Grimes' perks, they're terrible. They're really bad. Like, I think the Come and Get Me one's probably his best one, but you know, the teamwork ones and stuff, like, so fucking situational, like super situational. And they're just, when you have perks like that are just so situational, where just, for example, if somebody's getting tunneled and you just magically like manage to pull off a pallet stun while you're behind the killer or something, and they can, you know, have like no grunts of pain or scratch marks for like the next 30 seconds, and like, yeah, I guess, but there's just infinitely better like perks that are going to help that situation out that already exist in the game. And I know, like, every perk doesn't have to be useful, but it could be a perk that you could just sit there on your build and you'll just not use it for like 20 games. You know what I mean? Like, you need some perks that are going to have some use to them in a game, or like once every couple of games. Like, when you have perks like that sitting there, and I suppose it's all a playstyle thing as well. Like, I don't know, you can't exactly force yourself and end up in a double chase situation. And yeah, it could be like an anti-tunnel type of situation as well, but it's just like, I think killers get so set in their way of who they're going after, they don't give a shit. You know, if I'm doing like the come get me thing and he can see my aura, you know, the killer's just gonna be like, who the fuck are you? I don't care. I'm gonna go after this guy because I want to get him killed. Like, that's it. So that's why I feel like those, you know, Rick Grimes should have came with better perks. Now Michonne perks are great. I really like her perks, especially Conviction. Obviously, I've done a video about a Conviction build there. I was one of the first to discover it. How good it was. Yes, I'm new to the game again. I've just came back and I discovered one of the better builds for Survivor, because that's just me. You know, I'm that goated. I'm that goated, of course. But you know, we have Conviction, we have Last Stand. So Michonne definitely has the better perks of the two. And I'm just hoping, you know, Rick does get some love on his perks at some point, because, you know, coming up, what we should quickly talk about as well is the roadmap, because I totally forgot about that. So we'll talk about the roadmap in a sec as well, that they've just put out, and what's happening, you know, delayed chapters and whatnot. But, you know, that was just like the tip of the iceberg. I'm very fidgety, sorry. That was just the tip of the iceberg of the Walking Dead chapter. Just those perks and, you know, Rick and Daryl sounding like that. We do have Maggie to look forward to coming for Michonne as well. But there's just so many bugs that happened in the game. You know, people's heads falling off, literally. And, you know, they've done a couple of bug fixes now, which is kind of, you know, smoothing things out. With the last bug fix, though, obviously they introduced the vials, the fog vials. I didn't think they were really that useful, personally. Like, it's kind of cool so the killer can't see, like, where hooks are most of the time, and I think it works well, like, the best against long-range killers, because if it's a lot harder for them to get a good hit on you. But, you know, you've gone from infinite charges to just 2 in a game. And this can always be a problem with Dead by Daylight, is because there's 4 survivors and all 4 of them can run fog vials. So if there's 4 of them infinitely dropping the fog vial, then yes, that's fucking ridiculous. But now they've maybe nerfed it a bit too much to where it's just 2 charges, as to where I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know what, I'm going to run a fog vial on my survivor right now because I'm going to get 2 charges out of it, and it's just fucking useless. And it's pretty much useless in any way. And it's an item that works differently on each map depending on the lighting as well. So it's just like, what's the point? It was one of the weirdest items I've seen added to the game personally. I would have liked to have seen something, and I've always mentioned that as an item for a survivor, like a water bottle is the way that drains your exhaustion just a little bit faster. Nothing to the point where it's super fucking OP, but you know, I don't use exhaustion perks personally, but you know, I just think, you know, water bottle, yeah, we use the water bottle, and then we literally just drain our exhaustion a little bit more, or you know, something along those lines, instead of them bringing flashlights or medkits. Having something different to enhance your playstyle that way, you know, I just think that's a little bit better. But you know, it is what it is. You know, they've added a fog vial, and now it's only got 2 charges, so now it's pretty much a useless item in my opinion. So we have that, and you know, it's just with all the other changes that happened because of all the bugs that came along, and we got a new Jim the Pool profile picture in the game, which I thought was pretty funny. I have that equipped right now. Rip Jim, we miss Jim, but yeah, we had that as a bug. And to be honest, I know like there was a lot of bugs going around for it, but again, I didn't even notice them really when I was playing the game. I think the biggest thing that what pissed a lot of people off, and I really don't blame them, was the streetwise stuff. Like the infinite item glitch not being an issue from behavior side of things. That was like, what the hell? That was like such a big fuck you moment. Like, what? They're like, oh, we're not going to kill switch this because it's not a big deal. But like, if enough people are complaining about it, why the fuck don't you just do it? Like, just, you have your kill switch in place. Just like, oh, no, you can't use that perk until we fix it. Because it was broken. It was fucked. People getting infinite charged toolboxes and medkits and flashlights just by spamming, picking things up out of a chest. It's just, yeah, it was very bizarre, honestly. And the fact they didn't kill switch that, like, it's, yeah, how long have they been doing this game for? And they're still having that kind of attitude towards their community. It's like, it's fucking like, what's the word, like narcissism or something? Like, I just don't know. How do you pin them into a category of like buffoonery like that? Like, how do you still act that way after you've done the game for like 9 years or whatever? And you should know by now how to run a community, how to look after your community, how to listen to your community and get feedback. And this is always a problem with video games. And like I said, this is why I don't really want to get into the politics of this game anymore, like I used to, really. But, you know, like I said, I'll give my opinion about it. I think the most annoying thing is when you've got a developer and they really need feedback about their game. And then you have the community giving the feedback. And there's no solid line of communication there, a respectable line of communication either. It's always like, the devs are up here, we're down here, and we're doing our own thing. We want to put our own thing in the game, and we're just down here bickering like a herd of fucking sheep, apparently, because what we say doesn't matter. And it's been very reflective in their body language, I guess, in their communication lately. It's been very reflective of that, and that's how they're acting. You know, they ignored about the whole live stream situation with Ots, that he could have improved it, he could have solved that issue there. And then we have, you know, what I just mentioned, where they just not kill switching broken ass perks. Like, what? Why? You know, you want to create a healthy environment. You want to create a good gaming environment for your player base, and new players coming into the game for Walking Dead and for FNAF. You know, you've probably had a shit ton of new people coming into the game, and they're seeing you acting like that. if they do read into the politics a bit too much, then they're going to be really pissed off, and they're just going to be like, well, I'm not playing this game, you know, you're giving me that kind of attitude. And then, yeah, you know, that's how some people could think. Just theorizing there a little bit. So let's talk about the roadmap real quick, because I have it up on the monitor right now. So I think August 25th is the third bug fix patch, I want to say, because I did quickly watch the video as well. So, you know, between August and September, we're going to get the third bug fix patch. Obviously, we're going to be getting 2v8 next week, I think it is. So we got, I think that starts on the 19th. So not too long now for another 2v8 event, which is something to look forward to as well. So this is a thing that I was saying on my stream all week. I was like, why the hell are they doing a PTB already when obviously the Walking Dead stuff was so buggy and it's still not fixed, and, you know, things really need polished out from the Walking Dead mid-chapter before they actually do something else. Hooray! Our prayers have been answered, finally. It's only took them 6 years, I think, unless they've postponed some chapters before, while I wasn't covering the game. But back when I used to cover the game, it used to piss me off quite a lot, where I was like, can you just, like, not do a chapter? Can you just slow down? Can you just do quality of life and polish the game for once, please? They're finally doing that. They're finally doing it. They're postponing the PTB till early September for the next chapter. Which, in my opinion, I know a lot of people might not like that. I think it's fucking great. Okay? It's about time they fucking finally took some time to fix the game, okay, and do some quality of life stuff. I think it's a good decision that they're doing that. And the focus addressing issues introduced in the July mid chapter, obviously, and they'll be doing extra polishing time on the upcoming original chapter as well. So I think that's a good thing. From what I've heard from their other original chapters that they did, like Houndmaster, a lot of people told me that one was really bugged. I don't know what their last original chapter was, to be honest, because, like I said, been away from the game. So I don't know how that released, but I'd rather they took their time and brought something out work, and that's not gonna fucking delete things out of the game, than, you know, rush it out just because they gotta meet a scheduled content quota. So it's nice that they are gonna be delaying that. So that's phase 1, August or September. They're gonna be focusing on stuff like that, quality of life, and obviously we're gonna get the original chapter at some point, but obviously they postponed the PTB as well. So we're gonna, which I think is good, because we were gonna end up having the PTB and 2v8 on the same day, which I thought was pretty stupid. So yeah, now we're gonna have 2v8 and then we're gonna have the PTB to look forward to. So some good things coming up in the next few weeks for Dead by Daylight, and of course some more bug fixes, which is always good. Now, moving on to phase 2, between October and January, they've postponed the November chapter, which is a licensed chapter. I think people are theorizing that it is Resident Evil Chapter 3, I guess, but that has been postponed by 2 months and is now going all the way to January. The focus for November release on bug fixing and the winter event instead. Also fixing the high priority impact of killer issues, the shape gameplay update as well. So I'm looking forward to a Michael Myers change there that's going on. And we have slugging, tunneling, and camping updates. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with all that. Because I coming back to the game, I've never really seen anything that they've talked about slugging, tunneling, and camping or anything. So you know, I can't wait to see what they're going to be, how they're going to address that, basically. You know, they're going to buff up the anti-tunneling perks again. You know, let's just see. Slugging, everybody's going to have Unbreakable as base kit. Who knows? Who knows? So that's stuff to look forward to in October and January. Obviously, we should have a Halloween event, shouldn't we? They usually do the Halloween event in October as well. So hopefully they do that, because they have the winter event as well, obviously. But I'm sure they usually do the Halloween stuff as well. So yeah, we'll have that to look forward to in phase 2 as well. Phase 3, February onwards, we have quality of life focused March release. So they did say that with, like, they weren't going to do a chapter at March, but they did say that they may potentially still bring the map out and a survivor instead, like doing sort of a paragraph. So we could see that still happen, but they are going to be, again, doing more quality of life focus and stuff, fixing high priority impact gameplay issues. And they're also going to be doing an MMR rework, a prestige rewards, add some more prestige rewards in the game. In my opinion, it sounds like it's going to be like profile pictures or something like that, but and banners, but we'll see. Because they said it's something that's going to fit in with every license. The only thing I can think of that's going to fit in with every license is if they did like a profile picture thing. Unless they're going to add, an extra skin or something, which could be nice, like an extra recolor. Like we get the blood, obviously, but maybe it's like a blighted version of that character or something like that. We'll see what happens. And then perk preview in matches as well, which they're gonna allow survivors to see other survivors' perks, basically. So that's sort of the little roadmap that we're going to be getting in the next 6 to 7 months or whatever. So like I said, I'm very for them delaying chapters, not even doing a chapter, if they are going to put the game in a better place, honestly, because the game's already got a shitload of perks. It's already got a lot of killers. It's already got a lot of survivors. You don't need to keep adding 3 perks to the game every single time, or 6 perks to the game every time. Fucking up the balance, fucking up the game entirely full of bugs, and you just don't need to do that. You really don't. So yeah, it's looking good for that, at least. And I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about for Dead by Daylight. And I don't think there's anything else. There was something I was talking about before, but it's gone completely out of my head. So you guys will get in the comments section and tell me off for that. Okay, so now we're going to do the Q&A stuff, and let me just bring up my post real quick and the questions you guys asked me, and we'll go from there. So Razvan says, what is your current favorite game? My current favorite game to play. It's not Dead by Daylight. My current favorite game to play right now off stream is Killing Floor 3. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. I'm having a lot of fun playing Killing Floor 3. It's not without its issues, but it is a really fun game to play. So that is my current favorite game. And that's all I really play off stream at the moment. I haven't really dived into anything else. I'm sort of getting back into Diablo a little bit, but yeah, right now it's Killing Floor 3. I really enjoy playing that at the moment. Zeinhog. See, I hate looking at this on my phone because it gives me their at, but it doesn't give me their channel name. Zilnhawk96. I want to say I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry if I butchered it. Been a long time since I saw you, Pix. Always good to see you're still making videos, brother. Missed the content. Oh, appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's I said ever since I've been doing Dead by Daylight stuff, I've just been having a lot of people like coming back to the channel from years ago, or back when I covered even Evil Dead. So that's why it's been really nice just to kind of come back to the ASIM space, because I'm seeing a lot of old faces again, and catching up with people. I think it's a fun time, because I missed it, honestly, like when I was doing Rivals stuff, and even when I did have the popular days on Rivals and things, it was one of those games that just didn't sit right with me. I don't know, there was just things, it was my gut really just telling me like, this is not right. Because we were just playing the game. I didn't feel like the chat was as interactive with me as I was with it, just because of so much focus was going on to the game, where the content creator kind of takes a bit of a shadow, I guess. I don't know, but what's the right word? A bit of background, it becomes a background character, I guess, to the game. Where with the ASIM games, I feel like I can be a lot more entertaining. I can have a good laugh. We play Killer Clowns. We're laughing, shitting on the clowns, and just so much stuff goes on when everybody's having a good time in the chat with that as well. So, it's been one of the nicest things coming back to ASIM games. Still seeing people are excited and are chatting and talking to me in the chat, and having a good time and having a good laugh about it, because we can just sit and bicker about shit that's happened, and yeah. It's good, and if it's a place for people just to relax and enjoy the stream as well, that's what I'm all for. So even if you don't talk in the chat, I do appreciate everybody who does lurk and just watches the content and enjoys it. like I said, when I'm playing Dead by Daylight, I don't feel like a background character like I did with Marvel Rivals. I actually feel like a streamer again. I actually feel like a content creator where I can interact with my chat a lot more. So yeah, it's been a long time since I saw you, but yeah, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. I appreciate that. Ando, and good friend Ando, would you recommend DBD to newbies in 2025? Put it this way, okay? Now, I'll give you some tips if you want to come and play Dead by Daylight for the first time, okay? You know what? I could probably do a video about that, but just a quick tip, okay? What I always say is please play both sides, okay? I will say that if you want to be a survivor main, you have to fucking play killer. And the reason I say that is you can really experience what the survivors do and implement that into your gameplay. That's how I became so much better at the game in such a short amount of time back in the day. I'm not great at the game at the moment, but I'm getting there. I'm getting back to it. I really struggled in the first few weeks of playing this game for the first time years ago because I'd be getting unhooked from people, and then I thought the safest place to be was the corner of the map. Every new player does this. They'll go to the corner of the map, they'll get and heal themselves up with a med kit, or they'll get somebody else to, will follow them. It wastes so much time, okay? Most of the time, you can just get off the hook and get healed up, depending if the killer's in a tunneling mood or not. However, there is perks to make your life a lot easier if you are going to decide to play this game again, or for the first time, should I say. And Windows of Opportunity is probably the best starting perk in the game. And that is a Kate Denson perk, just for everybody. It's the best perk in the game for a new survivor because it shows where pallets are. It shows where windows are for you to do a vault and for you to get to a pallet to save yourself against the killer. Now, like I said, make sure you do play killer because that's how I got pretty good at the game, because I focused on what they were doing, how they were running tiles, how they were running me over a vault and then circling back around to a pallet. I learned all of that and how to properly hide myself from the killer during a chase, and how, like, once you play killer, you become an infinitely better survivor on the game. Trust me on that. So what I recommend it to newbies, though, is the question. If me just giving you tips there, it's just saying basically play the game. Right now, I would say yes. Okay, because I don't think there's really OP stuff going on in the game, and there is MMR right now, so if you are a new player, you won't really go up against experienced killers, so that's always a good thing. Although so they say, so they say. I haven't personally ever made a new account on this game and tested out the MMR, like, did a smurf or something like that. But I think going into the game, and you've watched me play it, so you kind of know the gist of things and what to do, and play against certain killers. So I will recommend it for new people in 2025. Yeah, I think right now it's probably in a good enough spot to get into before they start adding stuff, and also they're going to be taking some time away from not really adding chapters as frequently. So now is probably the best time as any, or good a time as any, to get into Dead by Daylight before they add more stuff to the game. It's going to give you time to build up the encyclopedia of knowledge that you need to play this game and to know all the perks and add-ons and stuff for each killer. You will be overwhelmed, but the addiction will set in with you. You'll get to the point where, okay, I want to get all the perks unlocked on Survivor, I want to get all the perks unlocked on Killer. It will set into your brain, and you'll spend a lot of time playing this game. Just even if you're watching the game, and you're like, you know what, this doesn't look really fun, you're just sitting there repairing a generator. While that's true, there is things that you can do to make your gameplay a lot of fun. You can be a lot more interactive. You can go and cleanse totems, for example. Well, not really fun, but you're moving around the map a lot more. You're not just sitting staring at the same part of the map all the time. So experiencing some new things during the game is always helpful. So yeah, I think the addiction will set in with you if you decide to get into the game, and I'm happy to sit and play with you as well. I probably would not be the best person to sit and play with, if you are deciding to be a new player to the game, just because I'm obviously going to have my own MMR, and that's going to put us against killers that are relatively experienced at the game too. So I could potentially make a Smurf account. I might have one somewhere, to be honest. But yeah, let me know. Let me know, Ando, in the comment if you're trying out Dead by Daylight yet, or if you're waiting for me to recommend it. I do recommend it to you, honestly. It was one of those games where you play it for the first 2 weeks and you kind of like shitting yourself, really, because you don't know how to play, and you're like, what's this killer? Why is this killer like going invisible and, you know, coming out of invisible and messing me up? But, you know, once you learn everything, you get the addiction set in where you just want to grind and grind and grind and get everything unlocked. And I mean, the good thing about DBD is all the original stuff you can earn for free as well. So you can just earn iridescent shards while you're playing the game. That happens when you are leveling up and doing some different challenges in the game. Now you can do all that, and then you can go and literally buy an original chapter or something along those lines. So that's always good. Right. I hope I answered your question there in good detail, and I hope maybe my recommendation for you to play it helps in the decision. But yeah, let me know in the comment section. Now, Sporter, what are your overall thoughts on gaming as an industry and the state it is in within 2025? Okay, so gaming has been fucking shit since 2023. Okay. This is when I moved into this house, I think 2023. TCM came out, and then Evil Dead died. Killer Clowns come out. Killer Clowns died. To be honest, in the last 2 to 3 years, okay, let's just say, let's go back to like 2022, 2021. Let's see, 2022 maybe. Let's just go back that far, and you know, for games that have came out, we've had Multiverses died, Suicide Squad died, TCM died, Killer Clowns died, all these, Evil Dead died. It's 5 big games with huge fucking potential gone, fucking just obliterated from existence. People are still playing them, obviously, but you know what I mean. Like, they're far from being any kind of popularity there. Anybody playing these fucking games, and it's a problem. It's a big issue. And what is causing these issues? Okay, because is it players? I don't think it is. I don't think it's because of lack of players, a lack of interest, or anything like that. When you see the view counts on Twitch for Evil Dead and TCM, the fucking potential of those games, like, could have went somewhere. Could have been Dead by Daylight levels easily. The problem is these games are coming out, and I don't think it's the developers necessarily. I think it's the fucking publishers. Okay? But Dead by Daylight is a game in a unique situation because Dead by Daylight is Behaviour, and that's it. You know, they developed it, they published it. Evil Dead, you've got Saber as the developer, you've got Boss Team Games as the publisher. TCM, you've got Gun as the publisher, and you had 2 different developers. Now, in that regard, although I would say Sumo and Black Tower were fucking useless, I think Gun is just as big as a culprit there than it is the developers. So that was just a shit show. Killer Clowns, you have TerraVision as the publisher, you have Ilphonic as the developer. You're seeing a fucking trend here, right? And it's not only that, with Suicide Squad as well, I don't know who the publisher was for that. Or so the publisher would have been Warner Bros. And the developer would have been Rocksteady. Not a bad combination by any means, but I feel like publishers are really like strangling the developers by the neck a lot of the time now. They gotta have to get their content out at the right time. They don't get the content out at the right time, then content is going to be cut because the publisher does not want to spend and invest money in creating more and more content like that unless they're seeing a good return. I feel like this is a problem with video games right now. It's the same thing with fucking multiverses, because you know fair and well that we talked about this in the other stream, Sporter. about what happened with Multiverses, about how much Warner Bros. Changed that game. The same shit has probably happened to Suicide Squad there. Publishers need to stop butting in to fucking video games. I feel like that is what is like literally fucking everything over. And I know I'm saying the F word a lot, but it pisses me off because I've gone through so many games right now, and it boils my blood because you have the potential there. Look at TCM. TCM was one of the best ASIM games you'll ever play. Yeah? Gone. The reason why it's gone is because a shitty publisher, fucking Gun Interactive. Gun sat there and fucking lied to everybody saying, we're going to get this done, we're going to get that done, you know, we're going to add a level cap, we're going to add you to grind currency. Like, this game had no substance. This was the problem. Like, it was so fun. The core gameplay was great. The atmosphere was great. The perk system was fucking ass with attribute points as well. Just totally fucking ruined the experience for everybody there. And then all the bugs that came along with it because Gun was probably pressuring Sumo into putting, you know, stuff out. And then you had pay-to-win characters, another publisher decision. Like, every decision that happened in that game was due to the publisher, and the developers got thrown under the bus for that because they couldn't supply the demand, really. And it was ultimately Gun's fault. And this is why I'm saying the publishers are the biggest fucking culprits in these video games right now. I lost my flow of the rant. Sorry, my throat was getting so dry because I got my fan on over there. And yeah, I really need to get some water because it's still really dry and I've been talking a lot for the last hour or so. But yeah, I really think it is the publisher's fault. We need to stop bringing games out half-baked as well. Like, this is another thing. And again, it's not the developer's fault. It isn't. It's the publishers. They're running out of money and they just want to get the fucking game out and get their money back and then chill. That's it. Now we're just chilling. Why is they like, I miss the old mindset of video games of we want to be the best. We want our game to be the one that people are leaving in their disc tray. That was what Cliff Bleszinski used to say for Gears of War 3. Like, I always think that's a very solid, you know, mindset that you should be in with a video game. If you are bringing out a multiplayer, like, there's so many multiplayer and live service stuff coming out now. People are getting fatigued by it as well. But it's not to say the hype isn't there for, like, a new Friday the 13th live service game or a Halloween live service game. The hype's definitely there for people to do that. A Stranger Things fucking live service game or something. Like, there's potential there. There's a fucking audience. There's, you know, thousands, if not millions of players ready to jump on and play those games as well. But how do you do that now these days? Like, who do you get to do that these days? Because I feel like you can't trust anybody. I don't think there's like a single developer out there where I'm going to go, oh wow, they're making a new game. Cool. I'm going to go check that out. They just, and it kind of hurts my soul, but Saber are probably the only ones that I want that kind of thing. But I'm like, oh, Saber's making a new game. I'm like, ooh. Because I know Saber has the quality there. And the situation with Evil Dead was sort of the same thing, I guess. I don't know. I heard things that Saber took over the reins of Evil Dead at a certain point over from Boss Team Games, so they were definitely at fault for that. But you know, just it's depressing, really, because it's not like we can sit here and say, you know what, there's a lot of cool games coming out soon where we're gonna be able to sink our teeth into. I think in the last 4 or 5 years, my favorite multiplayer game has been Exo Primal, and my favorite single player game has probably been Dead Space Remake. Like, those are the first two that come to my head. Like, those have been the ones that have the most fun with and probably have the most potential as well, like in terms of on the multiplayer side of things with Exo Primal. But again, Capcom being the publisher with a little team under them fucked up with that, and it was a game again. It's just so cash grabby, and I think all this cash grab behavior, and I know we probably think it's cyberpunk. I want to say that it is literally because of COVID. I think these companies, these publishers, developers, whatever, took a massive fucking hit during COVID, and during lockdown. And this is why, like, the gaming industry now, you're just seeing so many layoffs, and games are taking longer to make now. I mean, look how long fucking GT is taking to make at this point, like the new one, and still waiting for that game. And this is why the strategy now is to create a game like TCM in 3 or 4 years, because I mean, how long did it take them to make Killer Clowns as well? Like, that game looks like it was made in like 6 months. And then they just put it out there, made money, and then fucked off. Like, there's no passion, it feels like, behind video games anymore. This is why you're seeing indie games really shine through a lot more now, because there's passion there. With these big corporation video games now, it's like, oh, okay, we're just coming in, doing our 9 to 5. We gotta meet quotas, we gotta meet deadlines, and then that's it. Like, there's no passion behind a video game anymore, it feels like. And you never see it anymore as well. You know, like, I when I grew up, and I always, you know, Gears of War was my bread and butter back then. I'd always go, and, you know, we didn't really have much articles on the internet or anything like that, but, you know, there would be exclusive interviews in, like, magazines and things. I'd go and get the exclusive interviews in the magazines and stuff for Gears of War, like, getting really fucking hyped up, because Epic had that passion to make that game successful on Xbox, and, you know, it's admirable to see stuff like that. And now, you know, it's like 15 years later, or whatever it is later, since, you know, the early days of Gears of War for me. It's probably a lot longer than that. You know, you're talking like 2008, 2010. So yeah, about 15 to 18 years ago. And now you think the industry would have even got more passionate and got more involved and just become so much more mainstream than what it was. And I don't think it has. You know, in 15 to 18 years, we've seen a lot more robots, a lot more suits and ties having their say on video games, a lot of political stuff getting involved, like Sweet Baby Inc., that instantly puts off like millions of people from even buying a game. And once you start doing stuff like that, once you start making games like Concord and having the most uninteresting looking fucking characters in existence, and you're sitting there and like, we're proud of our work. Really? Are you fucking proud? Are you fucking proud of yourself that you just made a game like that lasted like 2 weeks and got turned off? And the problem is, they, like, nobody in this industry is learning from their mistakes or fucking listening to their player bases. And that's again another thing that really pisses me off with these games. You know, there is stuff to look forward to in the pipeline. We've got the Invincible verses, obviously. We've got the Halloween stuff coming out. There's a Hellraiser single player game. I don't know if I'm going to play that personally. Gears of War E-Day, Gears of War Reload is out at the end of this month as well. So, you know, there's some things to look forward to. We got Gamescom coming up. We got the Game Awards coming up as well. So hopefully we get some more stuff announced and we can see some new games that we can get excited for. I just think the gaming is probably at its lowest point that it's ever been in. And that's somebody that's been playing games since I had a chipped PS1 when I was about 5 years old. I've been playing games for, you know, nearly 20 years, I guess. And you know, I don't think you can ever recreate the old vibes of going to the store, pre-ordering a game, getting the physical copy. It's just not the same anymore. People are downloading digital software onto their fucking Xbox, onto their PS5, onto their Steam. and not feeling a connection really, I guess. Like, who made the game? Like, with me, with Gears of War, like, I always say, it's like, it was such a fucking love for me, because I used to really enjoy listening to Cliff Bleszinski and what he used to say about the game, what they were bringing to the game. You could tell their passion for the game as well. You know, we did all this and that, you know, we implemented a lot more things, and I don't feel like you get that from, there's never like a face out there for these games anymore. Like, they have their little Twitter handles and that's it. They don't actually come out on video and doing interviews really, and all that stuff. Like, I feel like you just get a lot of out of touch before games come out now, and then people are just buying the game, trying to consume it. It's broken, they get a refund, job's done. Like, it just feels like there's no what's the word? There's like no connection between a player and the developer anymore. And although that could be one of the reasons why gaming is so shit right now, there's many more. It's sad, it is, but I hope it does start picking up again. In my experience right now in 2025 and 2024, you know, in the last couple of years, what's been the biggest kind of letdown to me is Payday 2 to Payday 3. Okay. And these games are the perfect fucking example of how bad gaming is right now. Payday 3 is, you know, they're still good games. They're different to what they were. So we're talking about Payday 2 transitioning into Payday 3. Then we got Killing Floor 2 going into Killing Floor 3. You look at Killing Floor 3 and Payday 3, they're both doing way less in terms of player-based numbers. Actually, I think Killing Floor 3 is roughly the same now. Mainly, you know, Payday 3 has like 300 people on Steam. Okay, Payday 2, 27,000. 27,000 over 300 compared to the sequel. Or the, you know, it's just like, or the predecessor or whatever. So, how are you fumbling that hard when you're making a new game? Because you saw what worked in your second game. Bring it to the third game. Enhance it. Make it better. New engine. Better graphics. Job done. Bring in some more crossovers and everything. That's what made Payday 2 relatively popular as well. None of that. None of that went into the game at all. Completely different skill system that nobody fucking liked. Barely any weapons. Barely any heists. Characters that, you know, it's just the default Payday characters that came with it. Don't get me wrong. I thought the graphics were great. I'm not going to go into a whole rant about Payday 3, but that game was just so bad compared to Payday 2. And you had years of experience, man. Like, this is the biggest thing that also pisses me off with video games. You have so many years of experience just laid out there. Like, gaming's been around for such a long time. And you've even had games that have been successful. Replicate that, make it better. Don't fucking change things up. People like what they like. So if Killing Floor 3 come out, it's very controversial, this game, because I still enjoy playing that game as well. But a lot of people don't like it because it's not really Killing Floor 2. And I get that. You know, it was the same thing with me with Payday. It's like, this game's not good because it's not the second game, basically. And it's what really pisses me off is like, why would you, like, I get it, you kind of want to make a different game, maybe you just want to do a palette cleanse or something along those lines, but, and I still recommend Killing Floor 3 to people, you know, I think it is still a decent game, you know, it's like, I give it like a 7 out of 10 or whatever, and I've played a lot worse games that have come out recently, as to where, you know, this kind of shines out of all the turds, you know, so, it boils my blood when you see in games like, and, you know, we had Marvel's Avengers as well, and you just seeing them fumble one after the other. It's like, what are you doing? What, you're making a looter shooter, but you don't pay attention to what Destiny's doing? You know, the one that's played the most in terms of a looter shooter is Destiny. What are they doing right? What are you not doing? Why that? Hey, look. What's gone wrong? Let's bring out Marvel's Avengers. Okay, it's going to be a hero looter shooter. You know, Destiny was probably at its prime at that point as well. What is Destiny doing? Okay, they're doing raids. They've got all these different enemies. They've got all these different guns. They've got these, you know, ignore the guns and shit like that, basically. What I'm trying to say is they're bringing out a superhero live service game. And don't get me wrong, Avengers was fun, but it was like one enemy type. You're doing the same missions all the time. And there was one raid. And that took years to come to the game. But, like, you follow the success of somebody else in your own game. Like, what is working? And it's a whole different story with ASIM games, okay? Because you've had Dead by Daylight going for years and years and years, and it's been the most successful one. Not a fucking single one of them that have come out have even attempted to do 1/10 of their content. Not a single fucking one that's come out. And the main reason, I think, is because these people aren't fucking passionate. I think Gun is probably the more passionate ones about horror, okay? Because they are a horror studio. When you're looking in the likes of Evil Dead, it was made by Boss Team Games, who are, I think, a horror publisher. Saber do horror games, but they don't come out and say how passionate they are with horror stuff. And yeah, it pisses me off because it just felt like, how do you see Dead by Daylight doing a battle pass, a new chapter every 3 months, and, you know, doing a mid chapter as well? That's like, you know, changing some things up in the game. How do you see all of that? And, you know, the amount of maps are in that game, and you are bringing a game out like Evil Dead, the game, and being like, we have 2 maps. We don't have a prestige system. Then they put a prestige system in, and it was dog shit. And then you go on TCM, come up with 3 maps. 3. Only 3 maps that game come out with. And then obviously you had the family side of things, and then you had that, but it was all you grind for was a profile level. You unlock some fucking, I can't remember, some lore stuff and some tapes or whatever the hell it was on TCM. And then you got your victims to level 10 or whatever it was, and that was it. Like, this is not a single one of them tried to replicate. They all went, oh, we don't want to do a battle pass. We want to do traditional DLC. I'm sorry, but why? Why? There's a reason people are playing a 9-year-old game today, is because although they have the Rift in there, and it's not really the best Rift right now, it's still something to grind for. You know? And then even their prestige system is somewhat something to play for as well. And then you're looking at TCM, you got your max level cap there, and it's just like nobody wants to fucking like follow the coattails of Dead by Daylight success, and it's so frustrating. But yeah, my overall thoughts on the gaming industry and the state it is in within 2025 right now is it's shit. It really is. And I'm tired of developers ignoring the fucking player base, and it's happening with Rivals now. You know, we all complain about 3 healer comps and them not adding enough MCU outfits. Here's some Flaming Phoenix outfits, guys. Here's some Symbiote outfits. Not a single fucking MCU outfit. Well, I know they just brought out the first steps ones and stuff, but you've got a vast fucking audience and stuff to pull from as well, on top of that of, you know, MCU and comic skins, and we keep getting original fucking outfits in little battle passes on Rivals, and they're not doing anything about the balance. And again, it's just another developer ignoring its fucking community, and it's gonna die because of it. I think in a few years' time there will be no more Marvel Rivals because of that, unless they start listening to the community, and they're just not doing it. It's such a fucking elitist attitude, and I just can't stand it, because you don't feel the passion there. Again, we're here, we made a game, you spend money on our game, and that's it. You know, it's not like, it feels like you don't have a publisher or a developer sitting there going, we really care about this, like we really want to get this fixed. You know, we really want to get this in a good spot. Just haven't had that. Not at all. And there's, you know, when we've seen so many live service games die now, where you just like, are we really ever going to get a game that's just going to be like, this is it? You know, this is the one we can sit and fucking grind hours and hours. The next World of Warcraft, the next fucking Fortnite. Are we ever going to get something like that? Probably not, because I just don't think the passion's there. Now, I don't think gaming is necessarily going to improve for the rest of the year. I think 2026, hopefully things start picking back up again, but I think 2025 has been one of the worst years of gaming, honestly. There hasn't been a ton of stuff come out. And to be honest, I stopped buying video games. I really did, because I was just so sick of buying them and then just being like, oh, this is shit, this is shit. It's just, everything's like a flop. Everything just fucking flops. Because nothing's designed with passion. Nothing's designed with the consumer in mind. Everything's designed to be super fucking trendy and a quick cash grab. Star Wars Outlaws, the fucking Mafia game that looked terrible, Mind's Eye, like all of these half-cooked games. And like I said, it's mainly the publisher's fault, because they're investing money, they want a return on their investment and getting the game out there. And yeah, it's a fucking shambles. It really is. But that's why we're all sitting, going back to playing World of Warcraft and Dead by Daylight, because these are games that work. These are games that still get updates, and these are games that clearly the developers are still a little bit passionate about. So yeah, welcome to gaming in 2025. I went on a bit of a long tangent with that one, but you know, it's worth saying. Why did you stop playing the first Ascendant when it sorry, this is from Swashy B. Why did you stop playing the first Ascendant when it seemed like we were having fun playing it? Was it the drop rates? I stopped it before season 1 even dropped last year, but I can't remember why. So drop rates was one thing. It was rerunning the same thing over and over again as well. That really got like pretty tedious for me. Spending 4 hours to like just not get something that you actually wanted as well. Like it's just, there's a lot of things with First Ascendant with that. Why I stopped playing it, and to be honest, a lot of people stopped playing it as well. Like it was just me most of the time. Like I think at the time it was obviously me, DeMarcus, Rabbit. You were playing it. Dustin was playing it. Like we had about 5 of us rotating and playing that game. And, you know, it's like everybody left playing it, really. And I just stopped playing it then because everybody else stopped playing it. That was it, really. You know, and, you know, it's one of those games where it's got the Warframe problem, where if you leave it long enough and then you try and go back, there's just so much to catch up on where you're just, like, so overwhelmed and you just don't want to touch it. But, you know, maybe I'll play First Ascendant again. I have it downloaded, so we'll see. We'll see. So that's kind of why I stopped playing it. And yeah, the drop rates was a big issue there. But I think they've made the grind a little bit better, so we'll check it out at some point. But yeah, that is everything from the Q&As. Now, if you did enjoy the podcast and you want to get involved more with the Q&A section of things, next podcast will probably be a lot shorter, but I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on everything, and you know, give me my opinions on all the Dead by Daylight stuff that's been going on, because there's been a lot. There's been a lot of digests, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place. I literally don't even have a script up. I don't have any topic up or anything. This is all done off the top of my head. So I've done pretty well. I've done pretty well for the podcast, but. Let me know your thoughts down below on everything that I've discussed. If you have any questions that you have for me, you know, personal matters, or you know, gaming related. It doesn't have to be gaming related. It can be about content creation or anything like that. Feel free to leave them down below, and you know, they'll get featured in the next podcast, which we'll do in about 2 weeks' time. I think it'll be a good spot to do it. So, yeah, hope you've enjoyed the podcast, guys, and thank you for listening and watching. And like I said, I do apologize. I'm a little bit all over the place, but you know, I did my best. I haven't done a podcast in a long time, but I'm gonna end it there because it's been 1 hour and 30 minutes long podcast just for myself. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well for more podcasts on this channel. And I have been Pixelz, my awesome viewers. I'll catch you guys in the next one.